What up, y'all? It is the O Show. Saturday. Stop the presses. We're going to be doing a Saga of Broken Blades session today. Session 13, Season 2, Episode 3. What up, Zan? And I think I'm also going to be doing a show pretty much every day. I figure I can always find some time to chill out with y'all and do the stream. So unless I've got something else going on or a good excuse not to, should be able to catch the show every day. I'll still, of course, keep the scheduler updated with what we're doing when, though. This weekend is actually a tabletop doubleheader. Today we're doing the Saga of Broken Blades, Dungeon World, Viking theme, and then tomorrow we're doing session 3 of For King and Country, Labyrinth Lord campaign, 1980s style fantasy. Very much a meat grinder. Gonna be a lot of fun. Then we're back to the video games as usual during the week. Glad y'all are here. Hope you're doing good. What up?
Hello.
No.
No?
Hmm?
That sounds like Miller just
Okay.
goes no.
Nah.
Where were we?
Well, we have just defeated a swarm of shadows that escaped from a mysterious overturned caravan in the middle of our travels. And the equally mysterious man Bolvi has approached our party and tells Bruce that something along the lines of, perhaps you are his son? It wasn't very clear what he meant by that.
So we'll set the scene here. The band of Broken Blades was traveling to Gusabi's tomb, right? What's happening now actually takes place along the way there. So we're in a little bit of time fuckery here. But keep in mind that you did successfully do the undertake a perilous journey, and so you will successfully arrive at Gusabi's tomb. In fact, that's where I put y'all's marker on the overworld map.
Oops, I moved it. Oh, moved it back.
On the way there, the band encountered a caravan wrecked with dead oxen and probably dead wagoneers as well, as it was crossing over a shallow stream. You notice shadows flitting all over the cart. They eventually turned their attention on you. You also saw Bolvi, one of the troopers from Ugathwe, one who recognized Bruce's blade Hringir, was there as well. Did not help when battle ensued, which Bruce commented on during the fight. And where we left off last session was with the party triumphant, Bolvi stepping into the light being cast by who has the torch right now? Or was it just burning on the ground? I can't remember.
It's
It was
burning on the
underground.
ground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just around.
So Bolvi had stepped into the light. And I think you wrote the line down exactly. What did I say?
Perhaps you are his son after all.
Something like that. So that's where we're at now. And as usual, you know, your characters are driving, so do your thing. What do you do?
Well, I just want to remind the couch of something really quick. The
All right.
infinite couch. Bolvi exists.
Oh, you
because
didn't want to
somebody
remind the
used-
couch in the living room? I was about to go.
No.
Oh,
The
you meant
infinite
the
one.
stream. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Got it.
Bolvi exists because of a move called Die of Fate, and you are the people who roll this move, or who we roll it, you buy it with 420 XP.
You buy!
You buy it, we'll
I have
roll
it pulled up right here, so I like to incorporate ways for y'all to spend your experience points in the tabletop games themselves. Not just turning on the face cam and turning it off and shit like that. Die of Fate is one of those ways. There's a command for it, exclamation point DOF. Don't do it on accident. Should you do that, it takes 420 XP away, and this move happens. Choose a character. Their player rolls 2d6 and chooses a situation, NPC, or similar. On a 10 plus, an ally, boon, or beneficial circumstance manifests. On a 7 to 9, the benefit manifests, but with strings, sometimes very serious, attached. And then, of course, on a miss in Dungeon World, no matter the move, Daddy gets to make a move.
Bolvi is one of these benefits with strings attached.
Brought to you by Sabatum.
This NPC sponsored by Sabatum. Beautiful. That was Bean's way to beg you for.
It's not a beg, it's a reminder, because it doesn't get used very often, but it's a cool way to be able to interact back with the show and the game. So just, reminding.
Quick aside, I think what I might do for Labyrinth Lord is make it 420 to re-roll something.
Oh, not to give like a +1 to somebody's roll?
Nah, I'm thinking in Labyrinth Lord, the way the move I'll have is like, let's say the skeleton rolls enough damage to kill you, or let's say he even rolls to hit you, right? Someone could jump in the chat, run the command, and force me to re-roll that to see if it actually misses you.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be anything. So like if you are, I don't know, like if it is a damage roll and they roll like just enough to hit you, maybe someone comes in and you re-roll that, or like if you whiff a save or like whatever. But I'd let them use it against you too. So if you like hit the monster, you're like, all right, we're gonna get it. They're like, nah, re-roll that. I think that's what I'm gonna do for that campaign.
What's the delay like on Twitch now?
Not too bad. Less than a minute.
Okay.
I would say it's about, it usually comes in like 30-40 seconds, I've found.
You just have to telegraph it with like.
We can always test it.
Unless.
Yeah, exactly.
Just force
Unless, exactly, pat it in there. We could test it real quick if Zan wants to. Basically, Zan, as soon as you hear me say the word soon, just type something, and then we'll know. Unless he's not paying attention. Then we'll have an artificial result. Anyway. That's the moment we're in. That's the beg for Die of Fate.
Appropriately, I just changed my bond to I must teach Edda to restrain herself.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
some of
better
y'all
than
had
learning the lesson of sacrifice.
some of y'all had bonds to write. I hope you did that. And
Yeah.
one more thing. I'm a big proponent of unless you pay attention to your moves and stuff, like you don't get the benefits because I'm not gonna do it for you. So I was thinking, remember, I think some of the characters have automatic moves, things that just happen as a result of other conditions. Like there's no roll, it's just like if you do this, invoke this move. So keep those in your head too, because when I was looking at my character I'm gonna make for JC's campaign, there's some automatic moves, and I was like, oh yeah, these are nice. So oh yeah,
Dave, can I?
final thing. Remember that you can also in Dungeon World, I noticed that there's a tendency to always make something a move, but it doesn't always have to be a move. You can just do as you wish, right? I mean, we've played like 13 sessions, so you guys know that. But like kind of approach it from a perspective of doing what you feel like your character would do, and you will probably find that the moves just kind of happen now that you're familiar enough with them to recognize them. Feel me? Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You?
Cool, jump in.
I was gonna say real quick that I wanted to change. I don't know if I need to announce it. Not my alignment, but the the goal of my alignment, like how I get XP.
Well, I'm going to make you work it into a scene. So that's the first scene in tonight's episode, is Edda's face lit by the fire of the torch as she makes that decision in her mind.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you changing, and then what does Edda's face look like as she does that?
She's changing the goal of her alignment to be ignoring danger to aid another. And as Bolvi approaches the party and he's lit up by the torch, anyone paying particularly close attention would notice Edda's eyes flit towards Sigmund as she remembers being trapped under the shadow with him, and her temporary moral conundrum to either save herself or save him. And she makes a decision to practice aiding other people before aiding herself, to make that be her goal. And then her eyes flit back to Bruce, who's approached by a stranger. And she has her sword out. It's not raised, it's just out. And she approaches Bolvi and says, I don't know who you are, but I'm Edda, a paladin of Tyr. Drop any weapons you have before you speak to my friend here.
Now, if you remember my description, Bolvi was holding an axe. And just a quick description of Bolvi for anyone who forgot. The trooper from Ugathwaite, so he's wearing... Well, he normally wears a tabard of the colors, but he doesn't have it on right now. Presumably it's stowed in his side pack. He's holding a long-hafted axe. He's kind of got a ruddy face, a little bit on the chubby side, bearded. I actually kind of imagine him with some sores on his face. Not like super bad, but a few. And he's got a little bit of that Conan the Barbarian haircut from the 80s with the bangs. It sounded like, A, you were role-playing, but B, it also sounded to me like a parlay.
I was going for an I am the law.
Okay, well, if you've got a specific move...
Invoke my paladin
that makes sense.
Status.
Oh, yeah. So she's using this move here, and I like to take a moment every time one comes up, just for people trying to learn the game. Even though, we're like 13 sessions in, we kind of know this. I am the law. So when you give an NPC an order based on your divine authority, roll charisma.
Bink.
Got a 10?
Yep.
So, this is a unique move that you always get the... So 7 plus result takes place no matter what. It's just that on a 10 plus, you also get to take +1 forward against them. And remember, we discovered that that actually only applies to your next move. We were doing that a little bit wrong. So that's
Right,
your
but
next time.
My next move against Bolvi
Bolvi. Roger.
specifically.
So as a player, you ought to make a note that you kind of have a floating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd choose one of these 3 things for Bolvi. Do what you say, back away cautiously, then flee, or attack you. Bolvi has a bit of a smile at the corner of his lips and tosses his axe down into the undergrowth, kind of midway between you and him.
Etta picks it up and goes back to stand near Bruce. She also motions to his pack on his back. Anything in there I should know about?
Simply shakes his head. He's got his hands still out to his sides open. Are Bruce, Oscar, and Sigmund staring at him?
Cautiously, yeah.
Does Bruce have any comment on what Bolvi said to him about his parentage?
After he's going to ask if he's alone.
He simply nods. He seems to be guarding his tongue for now.
So then Bruce would ask what he meant by that, but I'm assuming he's going to stay quiet.
Well, let's see. Ask him.
What did you mean? That I am his son?
He kind of shakes his head. He's looking down at the ground. He smiles to himself a bit. There are 2 among you who are not who they think they are.
Bruce will glance over at Oscar kind of knowingly, and he's going to say that my father is buried at Odstad. He died fighting orcs. I know who my father is. He was just a lumberjack. He wasn't anyone renowned.
Bolvi crosses his hands, his arms, I should say, and relaxes a bit, leaning his back into one of the several trees surrounding you in this tree stand. I know what you were told. It is he almost considers telling you this. Some of the work we must do for the king.
Work for the king? Did you come here to make yourself appear mysterious to us, or did you come here to tell us something?
He raises his eyebrows a bit. I'm here on my own business, and I believe I already have.
I believe you've left us with nothing but more questions. Who even are you? Why are you here? And what gives you the authority to tell my friend anything about his father?
He is growing increasingly mirthful at his agitation. I'm Bolvi. I'm one of the king's men of Ugathwaite.
Well, Bolvi, kingsman of Ugathwaite. Did you know? Did you know?
For
my
one,
friend?
he presses on. I happen to know. And he gestures toward Bruce, his father.
Is Bolvi much older than Bruce?
Well, give me a ballpark on Bruce's age.
I'd say Bruce is in his mid to late 20s.
Probably 40s, if you had to guess.
Okay.
By the way, being your little brother's channel just auto-hosted me.
Adorable.
If there's any hot girls over there, since it's probably all that watches your little brother's stream, they should come over here and get really nerdy. But there's only 3 people, so.
Do you like tabletop role-playing games?
It's probably 1 hot girl and 2 girls, GIRLs, guy in real life.
Anyway. Is Bolvi lying? Edda has senses that pierce lies. It's one of her boons of her quest.
Boom. You dedicate yourself to a mission. Okay. I remember her quest is to discover the truth of the Lou Dog clan. Now, what did I choose as your vow, by the way?
Edda has to tell the truth.
So she cannot lie.
Mm-mm.
Boom. Remember when you were trying to lie during last season? I had to stop you. And you were like, no, I'm just... You were like, I can't remember what you said.
What
you were like,
lying about.
You're trying to lie to your dad.
Oh,
and you were
yeah.
like, no, I'm just presenting the facts in a certain order. I was like, that also known as a lie. Anyway.
Fake news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was doing a little CNN. Fucking Blaze, what? I'm Joey Diazing right now. Where were we?
Is Bolvi lying?
There we go.
Edda can tell if Bolvi is lying.
To Edda's perhaps surprise, Bolvi is not lying at all.
Is Bolvi evil?
No.
That's her human racial ability.
Well, if you're going to invoke 2 moves back to back, why don't you for a moment tell me what it... describe the scene for me, please, alright? You gotta take me to dinner with these moves first.
Edda's not saying anything at this point, just listening to Bolvi speak. But silently in her head, she says a little prayer to Tyr, and she asks him if he would continue to uphold his boon towards her and let her know if this person is lying to her or not. And the feeling that she gets is a resounding, assural that he is in fact telling the truth.
The whole scene's like Guy Ritchie. It's just close up on her eyes, and it's a voiceover doing the whole narration. So he wasn't evil, and
She also gives a passing glance to Bruce and kind of nods in a way that says, I think this guy is telling you the truth.
Bruce is going to look around at his companions and then look back at Bolvi and ask if he wants to share the road with us to Kusabi's tomb and regale him with a bit more details.
He extends his hand to Edda. May I have that back?
Ed looks at Bruce to check with him first.
I'll nod. You can have it.
Ed will hand it back.
He hoists it up onto his shoulder, and he kind of uses the butt of it to point around at the group of you. So, who else among you has a father that I supposedly don't know? Any guesses? He seems to be enjoying himself now.
Sigmund makes withering eye contact and says, I have a father and he would have no time for this. You seem to be giving us riddles on the way to a tomb. We have mysteries already. Although I'm a skald and I deal with metaphor and symbolism, there is a time and a place for plain speaking. But it's your prerogative. We'd be happy for you to join us if you wish.
He smiles, spoken truly like the son of Grimm. I do know your father. I shall be playing. He gestures to Oscar. You already know.
I know not of what you say.
Did you always believe the man of your home was your father? Or have you perhaps suspected otherwise?
I've had no reason to believe that he's not my father, but I have learned some other revealing things about my family history as of recent.
This is the work that we do for the king. Some of it.
What is this work of the king you continue to refer to?
He looks at Etta a bit more seriously. What do you think would happen with the villagers of your sadly departed home were some of these facts revealed to them? Would the response be, kind of looks around, positive?
We still don't even know what the facts are.
He nods. I will leave that much for your companions to reveal what they will. I've said enough for them to know me to be true. I mentioned my business was personal. He gestures to the blade that I assume Bruce is still holding in his hand.
Yeah.
Did I not mark this blade?
You did. And Bruce is gonna look down at Ringgear, and I'm hoping to consult the spirits that live within it to give me a little guidance here.
Ah, so we're using a fighter move?
Good old heirloom. Gonna fail and get punched in the face by a spirit.
I don't know. That battle with the shadows was pretty redeeming.
So this move, Heirloom, is a fighter move. He's consulting the spirits that reside within his signature weapon, Ringgear. And he's got to roll charisma.
Hey, the first success in like 6 rolls of it.
See, y'all have. You must have put your D6s in the freezer between games. Rearrange the atoms. So on a 10 plus, I'll give you a good detail. And early in the game, I would describe these, but now we've kind of phased into the way it truly should be, which is I give you essentially the bare bones and you describe it, because it's all about your campaign. So the good detail, right, is your ancestors kind of open up to you. You have a feeling that you are redeemed in some ways from your recent performances. However you want to describe it, the scene, but essentially what goes down is your giant ancestors say that even though Bolvi is a small, weak manling, he speaks true. But do not forget that he is a small, weak manling. Just the same. And they asked Bruce what he wishes to do with Bolvi, almost with this like assumption by a giant mind that a manling is essentially just an object to be used as thou wilt. JC has it, yeah. Nerd's got a point, but he's still a nerd. Maybe you should shove him in a locker. Something like that. So however you want to describe that successful heirloom.
Bruce tightens his grip on Ringgear and closes his eyes, and he goes to this kind of ethereal sort of plane, and he sees all of his ancestors, and they tell him this, and he opens his mouth to respond to them, and everything vanishes almost in like a cloud of dust, and he sheathes Ringgear, and he looks at Bolvi, and he tells him that, I believe you might be right, but I still don't understand why the king would take a vested interest in me as a child.
To that he smiles a bit. Then you do not know the history of the giants.
And what of Oscar? Same with his parentage?
Bolvi kind of raises his eyebrow at Oscar because you get the impression, since Bruce kind of almost reps that he's got the blood of giants, it was no big thing to be like, yo, yeah, your dad is actually a giant. Oscar, on the other hand, I don't really think most of the party even really knows. Maybe I don't even think they would even suspect. As far as it's been roleplayed so far, in my opinion. But so Bolvie raises an eyebrow to Oscar when Bruce asks, like, what about Oscar?
The whole party looks over to Oscar like, what?
Sorry. Yeah, and it's like, I would love to have the time to chat amidst the ruins of this cart and this battle, but we have time to make up, and this battle is definitely set us back, so we got to get going.
So Oscar he like diverts. He's like, we gotta go. Let's not talk about how I'm an elf. Yeah. We can wrap up the scene with that statement, unless there's anything else you guys want. It sounds like you invited Bolvie to come along, right?
Before we head out, I would like to inspect the cart, see if there's anything worth grabbing.
I knew this was gonna happen.
Never mind, I'm gonna go.
All these actions. How did we make it there a day ahead of time with all this?
We made a lot of time up.
Maybe what it was is after all this, the remaining time to Gusabi's tomb, you hauled a lot more ass. You're like, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
We're like right around the corner from Gusabi's tomb, guys. Let's go.
That is kind of true, actually. I would imagine this takes place quite close, actually. Yeah, we can go to that scene. Let's go to that scene. So, couple questions. Does the band of Broken Blades wait until daylight to inspect the cart? Or is that very night by torchlight? Or how do they do it?
I'd like to maybe suggest making camp for the night and healing before checking out this caravan.
Yeah, probably better to see it during the day.
Yeah, that stuff isn't going anywhere. Unless it's alive, in which case it will kill us when we're asleep.
Alright, so in this case, I think the smart thing to do is to... I don't know. I guess we can just say this all happened before you got to the tomb. I guess there's no need to roll another perilous journey. So yeah, this is still all things that happen before you get to the tomb. Because we can always adapt it to the current moment and everything. So we'll be okay. Alright. That's how we'll rule it. So we'll just keep going with the flashback action. So Edis, because one issue is making camp during this, but I think it's probably chill. Let me take a quick look at the move itself.
We're like literally right around the corner. Let's like 2 yards up is Gusabi's tomb.
Well,
that's what you see the exit sign for it.
We're on the off ramp. You consume a ration whenever you make camp. I mean, it could just be one of the rations that we consumed while we were traveling on Undertake a Perilous Journey.
I would imagine.
Nah, I'll let you make camp, but you're gonna have to eat an extra ration.
Okay.
Oh, I had an idea.
And you're not gonna be.
An idea.
Well, hold on 1 second. This is ruling.
Sorry, I got excited because I forgot it, and I just remembered.
No, it's cool. I'm just gonna make this ruling here so you guys are clear. So I will allow a make camp here because you can't just sleep for a few hours. You're not gonna be able to level up. Because we've ruled that's going to take days versus hours. I like the days. I like the montage. But if you make camp, you got to eat a ration. Unless, of course, there's a reason you don't have to.
Hold on. There's some secret.
So making camp is viable, yes.
Eda approaches Oscar and she's talking to him. This should be played out.
Okay. It was happening secretly in the background.
We're telepathing. Don't mind us.
Did you remember something, or did Miller remind you of something?
Now
Both.
she wants to do. I guess I reminded her.
Well, as the party is making camp for the night, building a little fire and getting situated, Oscar is approached by Edda, who's kind of talking. They're kind of talking about what had happened during the fight, and Oscar has some new moves. It would seem he was able to make Edda's armor glow quite suddenly. He was able to make an apparition appear from the god Honir, who he now reveres. So they're kind of debriefing a little bit about what happened and his experiences channeling the gods. And Edda reminds him, isn't there, we read something about Honir's ability to purify food? And then she kind of eyes the suspicious-looking oxen that are wasting away near the wrecked caravan.
I mean, that was something that was mentioned, but I'm not well practiced in any of these religious doings.
Well,
I can definitely.
You won't be well practiced unless you practice.
This is true.
And now seems like the perfect time to try. Even if it doesn't go well, we have rations to eat. And then you'll be able to rest for the night and reconvene with Honir and learn from your new practice.
By practice, you mean mistakes. All right. Sure. Let's go over there and give this a shot.
Well, first, let me try to understand. So this is taking place prior to the making camp.
Yes,
And making camp is only has to take a couple hours rest. You guys don't have to like sleep or anything. I like the idea that you're close, so I would assume you guys would like probably push on, and then we'll resolve everything at one time. So I imagine this would be the party essentially calling like a rest. Be like, all right, we'll roll out in a few hours. It sounds like y'all want to go over and do what exactly? Try to make the oxen meat usable as rations? That sounds like mechanically what you're doing?
Yeah.
How though?
By sanctifying the flesh.
Is that a spell or a move?
Is one of my rotes.
Aha, let me take a look here. So that'd be under cleric, eh?
Yep.
And then go down here to rote. Sanctify food or water you hold in your hands while you cast the spells consecrated by your deity. In addition to now being holy or unholy, the affected substance is purified of any mundane spoilage. And y'all are trying to carve up these oxen into... Alright, I mean, that's definitely something that can be done, but let's take the scene over there, shall we?
Yeah, Ed is definitely guiding Oscar in this one.
So Edda's there, Edda's gonna go, Oscar's gonna go. Bolvi is honestly gonna hang out amongst the trees here and take care of himself. Rest. He's a trooper, but he's no adventurer. I guess Volan would come, right?
Yes.
About Sigmund and Bruce.
Sigmund is keeping a respectful distance.
So he's interested, but hanging back?
Morbidly interested.
Nice.
I'm thinking Bruce might be more interested in Wolvie and talking to him, because he did say he had personal business with me. So maybe while everyone's
So we're gonna have...
chat.
Yeah, I like this. We're gonna cut back and forth between two scenes. It's gonna be fun.
Alright.
So we'll start with the wrecked cart. Who is holding light and what light?
Ed is holding a torch.
Okay. That means you can't use a shield.
Okay.
Got it. Just make sure you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you grew extra arm, then you can. Did you grow extra arm?
No, Tyr hasn't granted me with that boon yet.
You have to lose an arm first.
Ah, there it is. You chop off your hand and 2 grow out of the place. So in the flickering torchlight, you can see that this was a simple cart with a canvas stretched taut across the top, but flat, not like hooped up. One of the front axle is cracked on a jutting rock in this small stream it was crossing. Maybe the oxen got spooked and yanked it forward and cracked it. As you approach, you can see, let's say there's 2 oxen dead from, say one of them has some blood. Looks like maybe it freaked out and cut itself on its yoke or something. The other is just inexplicably dead, maybe from the shadows in some way. It looks kind of drawn up a bit. And we'll say there are 2 bodies as well. Very drawn up. Kind of like they were desiccated in some way by these shades. Strewn. Say there's like a little bench at the front for riding, and they're kind of strewn. One is like hanging forward, like between their own legs, and the other is like hanging back, kind of on top of that taut canvas that's covering whatever they were hauling. So that's the grisly scene that Edda's torchlight reveals. What do y'all do?
Edda and Oscar are keeping a respectable distance from the wagon itself. Just near the oxen.
So it sounds like y'all would probably have circled like over to here. Gingerly stepping through the trickling water.
I'm not on that page. Can you pull me there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all looking at the main map if you're looking at
that's
something
okay.
else.
I'm sorry. I thought you guys
No,
were.
you're fine.
I was expecting you to move that counter just like a
Cool.
fractional amount. You move.
There's a whole party going on over here. You didn't even know about it. Sorry about that.
No?
But thanks for finally mentioning it. You can see probably much more clearly what's going on now.
Yeah, alright, good.
Hmm.
So, which of these squigglies are the ox?
Kind of that area here, as I imagine, where the oxes kind of drag
Okay,
their
gotcha.
yoke. There's the front of the cart. This
Gotcha.
main, because those black things were the shadows, but then they became actual things. I'm just not trying to sit here and erase all this tiny shit.
I gotcha. That's the dust left by the death of the shadows.
Yeah.
Alright. So Edda and Oscar approach from the oxen side of things to keep their distance from the cart. And Edda is kind of coaching Oscar, and she's saying, you know, this all happened during the battle, and oftentimes the gods will speak to you in a dangerous situation, but now is the perfect opportunity to practice in safety and to really learn what this feels like and what this is, so that next time you won't be so, for example, surprised when Honir's wolves appear to you to give you guidance. And so she kind of coaches Oscar, you know, to put his hands over the oxen and to pray and to feel for the moment where he can tell he's connected to his god, and then make his ask to purify this meat for us to eat.
I thought you were about to say, and make his ass purify this meat.
No, is asked to
Make his ass. Like, damn.
to request that this meat be purified.
Sounds like an
Angling for an
aid.
aid,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good job.
Oscar feels larger by this.
Don't roll that mid.
No.
I could feel that one coming.
Buddy, rolled
What?
that XP. Alright.
Bruce's
Don't
hands.
worry, I'm making a move. Give me just a moment. I'm already pretty sure the move I'd like to make, but I'm trying to make it very clear in my mind.
Listen, Etta doesn't revere Honir, she reveres Tyr. That's just how it works for her, but communing with Honir might be a totally different experience.
He is a god of silence, so maybe we just had to be quiet.
Oh, this is the perfect. Yeah, okay. So, in the midst of Edda's talking, just at the edge of the firelight, maybe assisted a bit by the moon, you're alerted to this perhaps by Volan giving out a short little whine. But as you look up momentarily, you see that something is beginning to press against the canvas covering of the cart itself. And kind of like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street or any like horror movies where like hands or fingers are reaching like through like fabric, you know, like that kind of look. It's almost like that, pressing up against the canvas. But anyhow, you notice that something in there is starting to struggle up against the canvas. Not like flopping, or just a very slow type of pressure, almost like probing.
Etta instinctually asks the question of her god, is this evil?
Are you using a move here?
It's at my human racial ability.
Oscar simultaneously is drawing his bow and immediately firing
At what?
at the canvas. They're stretching,
Oh.
and Volan reacts.
So you're asking
and
what,
and we're-
you're praying for
What?
guidance and asking what here is evil.
Yes.
What does that look like? What do you say to old
It doesn't-
Tyr?
It doesn't look like anything because it all happens in Etta's mind. But,
Well, I'm talking about the viewers of the show. What does that look like to them?
they can hear the
For instance, it says pray for guidance. So show me that part.
what's it called when you can hear, the talk over?
Narrator?
Yeah, you can hear the narration in Etta's mind as she prays to Tyr, and she asks. I think she always starts her prayers to Tyr with, Tyr, your hand continues to guide me, and then she just asks simply, what here is evil?
She gets the impression that whatever is within this card is definitely evil.
Creepy. And then you
Uh,
can kind of see Etta shudder a little bit as she's like, oh god.
it sounds like Oscar came in here with a volley, eh?
I would say this is a called shot.
Let me check that move. For the people as well as my own brain. Attack a defenseless or surprise enemy at range. You can choose to deal your damage, or Name your target and roll dex. Which one are you trying to do?
Deal damage.
Okay. So that is an automatic move. You don't have to roll.
Yes. As I said, as I drew my bow, and then as the arrow let loose, Volan reacts to this as well and dashes forward to tear into whatever may be on the other side of this canvas.
So you essentially use an arrow to pierce it, and then Volan rips into it.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your damage. Okay. So you still can't. Again, I'm trying to put as much description in y'all's hands as possible, so I'll just give you the bones. You still can't see what this is. Simply that you fired your arrow almost instinctually into something rising up out of this cart. Now, it's a good thing it's evil. What if this was like an orphan child that they were kidnapping?
Then they'd be dead from the 4 damage, and I'd move on.
Oscar'd be like,
We're already
"Another one.
outlaws."
Another one.
Is the question what here is evil? Because if that were the case, then Oscar would be evil.
Is Oscar currently aligned evil?
Oscar is neutral.
No, see, okay. That is true. If anyone ever goes to evil alignment, you gotta fucking file it with Edda. You have to fill out a form. Anyway, you can't see. All you see is Volan leaping almost like right after the arrow, like chasing it and tearing into whatever is in this cart. So describe that scene for me.
As the arrow lets loose, it kind of disappears into the behind the canvas, and then Volan runs through, and he jumps up onto the canvas and starts to tear at the hands or fingers of whatever it is trying to reach out.
What's next?
Edda's gonna stand.
Actually, hold up. That's a cut. Ooh,
All right.
We cut to Bruce and Bolvie. What's going on there?
I was just measuring distance. Is this map to scale?
I think I made it to scale.
They're about 150 feet away.
I think I made it to scale. Potentially. Maybe not. No, that seems about right.
How big is that cart then?
20 by 40?
Alright.
Yeah. It can be to scale. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's Dungeon World.
Well, I was just kind of thinking in terms of whether or not I could hear the commotion eventually, but...
But that just comes down to narrative if you want to or not, basically. Unless it's like totally out of the question, you know?
Yeah,
You'd hear Edda scream. There was about to be some screaming. That was all I was going to say.
Combats are initiated with an Edda scream.
That scene ends with Edda screaming, yeah.
So, concurrently, Bruce is going to be talking to Bolvie, and it kind of cuts sort of mid-conversation. They're talking. He goes, "So, what exactly was your business with me? I assume it was private, which is why you were so tight-lipped."
He gestures to the blade ring gear. He says, when all the refugees came from your village, I had to make sure it was the true hand that wielded the blade, and that it had not been taken from you.
So is the king interested in me or my sword?
As I mentioned, I am on personal business.
And the personal business doesn't involve me.
He sort of smiles. It could. If you are brave enough to meet with your father.
Of course. I fear nothing.
He laughs again. Then you truly do not know the history of your people.
There's only one way to learn.
I suspect you will learn a bit where you are headed now.
And I'm thinking that's about whenever the Edda scream will come to.
If only we had a party member who knew the grand histories of the known world.
Oh yeah.
for future reference.
Yeah, speak up, Bolin.
He knows the grand histories of the bone world. Woo!
Let me
a
catch up
dog,
on
get
some
it? He
notes
likes
real
bones.
quick, and then
He likes
we'll
dogs. Bone, dog
flashback.
bone. He eats them. Cut back to, that's fine, yeah.
yeah, just catching up on notes. 1 second.
What's Sigmund doing?
Well, Sigmund is moving towards the slightly more frenetic scene where from nothing happening to someone screaming and a bow being shot or an arrow being shot. So he is...
And the wolf dives into the cart.
And the wolf diving. All three people who were involved, well, 2 people and the wolf, are now suddenly acting crazy. So Sigmund is going to run over and help out with the altercation. Dog.
Sorry, still typing.
All good. Oscar, what's going on?
Oscar sees Sigmund approaching and tells him, just stay behind me.
He remembers that bow training session. He's like, Sigmund probably can't even carry a jug of mead, so...
That's also why, as he runs over, he has that moment of realization again that, you know, some things between Sigmund and him have changed, so he has a new connection with Sigmund here.
What's your new bond?
Sigmund is in constant danger, and I will aid him above all else.
Nice. That's a cool one. Did you come up with that totally?
I took the beginning of it from Cleric, and then I
Nice.
didn't want to do exactly that, so I figured out something.
No, I was actually, that sounded cool because that's what I thought you did. If you're struggling to come up with a bond, look at other classes' starting bonds and either swipe them or swipe part of them. That's why I've done that in the past too. It's a really good way.
This is also very true.
All right, we're caught up.
Cool. Make some moves before I kill something.
Edda's gonna drop the torch to the ground where she stands and pull her shield off her back, standing in between whatever evil thing is in that cart and Oscar.
I know you're about to roll that defense. Roll another miss.
No. I want to double check and make sure. I'm pretty sure this is Constitution, though. Yes, Constitution.
Oh yeah, I should pull up the move for the people. My bad.
I got a 12.
So she's using a basic move anyone can use called Defend. And by rolling a 12, that means she gets the whole 3. 3 is like a token you can spend. Hold is. She's got 3 of those. And she can trade them in to cause these effects. Redirecting an attack, having the damage, etc., etc. Just remember you got that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scene too. Like, Sigmund runs in, Oscar like motions in behind him, like, and then almost at the same time Edda's like pulling out the shield, drops the torch, and she's like stepping into the defensive position like a well-oiled team. Anybody can jump in, of course.
Oscar's lobbing another arrow. This thing seems to still be reaching, and Volan is still over there.
Are you going to continue to make these called shots?
Oh, if this thing cannot see me, I would think yes.
I don't want to do this. Yeah, I think I kind of... Yeah, I kind of need a miss to make a move on my end, so... Go ahead and roll your damage again. If you're using the called shot in the same way as you did before.
Yes. And then...
However... a little bit of a dangerous situation because Volan is in the way, eh?
No, that's what I was saying, as you were saying as well. I was say Volan calling him back to my side.
So you took care. That's fine then. Yeah, you pull him back, make your called shot. So yeah, roll your damage.
Minus the Volan damage. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
When Volan was there, I rolled a 1. When he wasn't. We're going with the binary rolls again today. It's either bare minimum or maximum.
So you call Volan back, and you make your shot as this creature rises from the shredded canvas. I'll describe it. Imagine if you took a person and then desiccated the body, stretched it out almost, darkened it so it looks like it's kind of made out of like charcoal or ash or smoke. And imagine where the eyes were now these like stretched hollow sockets, and the fingers and limbs are all disconcertingly long. That's the word I was looking for. Imagine that has then kind of wrapped itself in essentially just an oily, filthy, rotting, voluminous cloak with the hood up over its head. So all you can really see from the flickering light is the deep sockets of its eyes being illuminated, or you can see its long fingers hanging out from the cloak itself, and it's quite tall. It stands even taller than Bruce, almost stretched. This is the creature that rises from the ruins of this canvas.
All I can think of is the thing.
I'm thinking of Dementors from Harry Potter.
It's kind of like somewhere in between that, sure.
And I was imagining instead of a white Slender, it was a black Slender.
Kind of like that, yeah.
I'm just imagining a Saturday night in Scotland.
They call him Old Barnaby. That's what Raz is.
Damn.
And we'll give it in Baldur's Gate terms. It's like, it's definitely wounded now. So describe that called shot for me, Miller, as it rises, or Oscar.
Well, as this thing is like, as it starts ripping through more of the canvas, I think Devolan is like, all right, we need to get away from this now. And he leaps down from the canvas and retreats back to my side as I...
Runs past the two desiccated corpses of the wagon drivers right here. Leaps over them.
And as he lands on the ground next to me, I pull another arrow from the quiver on my back and let loose into this monstrosity of a thing.
And the second one gets it better than the first, so how do you want that to go? Does it already have an arrow sticking out of it?
If this is a solid thing, then yeah, the first one landed and was stuck in his hand.
Yeah, it is solid. This is a thing, yeah.
This one strikes it squarely in the chest.
As it hits, it makes kind of like a hollow, like exhale sound. Jump in. What do? You only want me to make moves when you whiff these rolls. I mean, you guys can take a moment to think, but also keep in mind, again, think about what your character would do in this situation. And then, as you guys have probably been discovering, the moves kind of organically come from that. But then again, sometimes it's not even a move. It's just cool. So think about the sitch, what your character would do. Describe. When moves come up, we roll them. You just don't want you don't want a situation where you're not thinking about to do all that. Because then I get to make free moves and it just gets nasty.
Bruce, I don't think, is going to leave Bolvi alone by the fire.
Yeah, let's cut back to that scene real quick. So there was the scream, because that little bit was quite rapid, you know. So
yeah,
we cut back to Bruce and Bolvin.
Look in the direction of his companions, who I assume he can barely make out, but not really see this.
I mean, they're holding a torch, and you're within some trees, so you can definitely see that the torchlight. You can definitely see that there's something tall rising up out of that, but you can't really, make out super details.
But not seeing where originally that came from, he's probably going to look out and see if he sees anything around and take a read of the situation in the woods and see if anything's coming for him and Bolby.
Smells like a discern reality.
Sure does.
Alright, so there's another basic move, one of my favorites. Closely study a situation or person, roll wisdom.
I have seen red, which is when you discern realities in combat. I don't think this is combat, right?
Nah, not for you.
Okay.
So, fortunately, that just means you get one question. Nothing too bad happens. And keep in mind your +1 forward when acting on the answers, which again, just to remind us, because we were doing it wrong, that's like a floating +1 that goes away once it's used.
What should I be on the lookout for?
thinking a bit about my answer. Bruce should be on the lookout not only for this thing rising from the cart, but he should also be on the lookout for who sent it there in the first place. That's your answer to what you should be on the lookout for.
Bruce is going to turn to Bolvi and ask if he knows anything about this cart.
He shakes his head. Even this is mysterious to me.
Then I think we'll end the scene with Bruce running down towards the cart.
Do you stop Bolvi from coming?
Yeah, more than likely.
So if he tries to take his axe and follow,
Yeah.
what do you do?
I'd probably just tell him to stay by the fire.
He does not seem to relent. He simply says, that is dishonorable. He's got his axe in his hand.
Push him down like a nerd.
Yeah, I would think Bruce would get a little forceful with him and push him down.
So it sounds like a parlay, right? Trying to
Yeah.
manipulate a GM character. So, have you taken any moves that let you parlay with your strength in particular?
I have not yet.
I think there are some, right?
Yes.
Alright, so in this case, you're still going to have to roll charisma. So it's, even though you're pushing him down, he doesn't give a fuck. He's been pushed down before. It's more about your intimidation factor. So go ahead and roll that parlay for me, bud.
Oh, man. He just pushes me right back.
Yeah, let me think about this.
He's one of those secretly strong nerds.
The spirits that live in Rangear push me over too.
He's min-maxed his body.
Yeah, let me think about this for a sec. Something juicy, perhaps. So happy you failed that roll, though.
I'm gonna have to rest for a month so we can level up as many times as we want.
There you go. Go on vacation.
That's what we did last time.
Let's just stay here. We'll just make this place safe. Eventually, everything has to die in this area.
He, simply slowly lowers his axe to the ground and leads it against the tree. And he, kind of working his hands, kind of cracking his knuckles, shakes his head a bit, says, "You will regret that."
Not as much as if I regret you dying. And Bruce will take off.
Dun, dun. Yeah, I like that little sketch.
Nice.
Just does it with the mouse, no big deal. Whatever. Alright, man. Move on over then.
Just trying to figure out why I couldn't click on it. I'm measuring my name instead.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Keep it rolling here.
Yep.
Me can think for a second, but
Etta's gonna crouch down where she is, get on one knee, just still keeping her shield kind of high above her to protect Oscar, but she wants to give him a little bit more room to get off his shots. So mechanically what she's doing is spending one of her holds to give Oscar a +1 forward
nice.
on this monster.
Make sure you take note of that +1 floater.
You mean the one I'm going to use right now?
Mm-hmm.
That one, very one.
But before, although Oscar is about to spring into action,
There's already a bow. There's already an arrow coming out of the quiver as you're making your action.
Sigmund, who's behind Oscar but can see the monster, knows it's a demon and knows that it's evil instinctively, and tells Oscar,
Bow's drawn.
to
It's all in
aim
slow motion.
straight for its eye.
Oscar adjusts his aim.
Is this an aid?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Go ahead and roll that. Aid is a fun move. You just roll. You can also interfere with people, so if someone's doing something you don't want them to do, you can fuck them up. You just roll plus bond, so however many bonds you have.
Sorry for the tension, everyone.
So that will confer the +1, but if there's a whiff to this roll, then you're exposed to the danger as well. What are you doing, Oscar?
Oh, look at
That
that
was a
perfect
volley.
10.
The volley is just your standard ranged attack. Now, with that result, 10 plus, you get to deal damage. That's about it.
Yes, it is.
Damn, son. That actually, wow. So Sigmund was right. That one, A is gonna nail it in the eye. Is that if that's what you want, or the lack
It was
lack
adjusted to
of an eye,
eye socket.
the eye hole, and
He has
B,
an eye now.
that is enough to vanquish it. So describe it how you will.
So as Oscar was drawing his bow to launch another arrow square into the chest or heart area, Sigmund yells out, "Go for the eye." So Oscar quickly angles up his bow, lets loose, it strikes squarely in the absence of where his eye socket is. This thing wreathes. An exasperated one last exhale and crumples back into the cart.
Yeah, I was gonna say less of a re, more of a like a very deep like. like exhale, like it's deflating. And it does collapse back into the shredded canvas of the cart.
And seeing this, Sigmund exhales a sigh of relief and says, sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier.
Well, this isn't like the things we saw earlier. Whatever this thing is.
No, but I mean, when you did your first shot, I was just scared.
Well, you were like 50 feet away across the river.
Second shot.
Bruce, by the way, runs up right as Oscar takes it down.
Like Kool-Aid Man's through the cart, ready to kill. He's like, oh, wait a minute.
Ben bars break gates the cart.
And if Bruce, as he shows up, you see the cart as I described it earlier. There's the two corpses of the wagoneers themselves. Their bodies desiccated and stuff. The oxen. And then now the canvas is shredded and open where Volan's been at it. And then this thing came out.
What
Oscar
is
turns to Edda. Is this typically what happens when you pray to Tyr?
Edda scowls. She doesn't dignify the question with a response, though. She just walks up to this creature and she's sort of inspecting it, and it's like nothing that she's ever heard of or read of in a book, and she's just kind of pondering out loud, what is this thing?
Well, Sigmund seemed to recognize it right away.
Sigmund, what is this thing?
Something I've only seen in a very, very arcane text. And never thought I would see in the, not flesh, but whatever this thing has.
Well, how were you able to recognize this thing?
Sounds like you need to roll a spout lore.
Is that what's going on here?
Let's find out.
Wow.
Damn.
So, with a 10 plus on spout lore, Sigmund consults his accumulated knowledge about whatever this may be. I have to tell him something not only interesting, but it has to be useful this time, unlike the very interesting and less than useful thing you got to learn before. This one I already kind of know where I'm going with it, but let me think about it for a moment. Because I can tie it in as well into Sigmund's specialty in the grand histories of the world, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Sigmund is correct that he has only seen perhaps drawings of these things in ancient texts. They were called devourers. They were alleged to devour the very souls of those living beings they encountered. And the historical aspect, the reason that you know of them, not that you have, it's not that you've studied bestiaries and all this, but there is a very ancient empire, many of the names lost to time, that inhabited lands to the south, perhaps even the very lands the Norse currently live on. And they would use these devourers as servants. For they were rumored to have power over life and death itself in this ancient empire. But we're talking histories thousands of years ago. Though there it is, right there in the flesh. That's what Sigmund knows. You can relate as much of that to the party as you'd like.
Sigmund.
And I also want to know the description of, like, how y'all inspect this thing. Like, we'll focus just on the Devourer itself for now, but I'd also be curious to see your party inspecting, like, the cart or the bodies or something like that. And I think there was still some purification of oxen meat that was still going to try to go down too, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, let's deal with Sigmund's scene first.
So now that the creature is dead, Sigmund feels a little braver and gets a little closer to it. Now that it's dead. I was trying to rotate it to make it dead. And it says, well, this is an artifact of... yeah, that
They spell off.
This is an artifact of a ancient civilization not found in these parts of the continent. But these were weapons called Devourers, and two things are troubling about this. The fact is that these things haven't been around for thousands of years. But the second most troubling thing is the fact that someone was obviously using this as a weapon, as they would have been used all those years ago. So let's just be thankful that it has an arrow in its eye, and that we still have our lives.
Edda
So we
wonders
have-
out loud, is this the thing that's animating the dead men who we saw back in Hodstad?
Bruce is going to shout to his companions and say that this is only one. We don't know how many more there are. We need to know who's sending them and why, as he's rummaging through the corpses and almost begging for an aid.
What?
What are you about to do? And they can maybe have a better idea how they could aid it.
I'm
Thank
about to try to spout lore by rummaging through everything in the cart to see if there's anything on it that he would know about.
Gotcha. Okay.
Edda,
I was like, you want to help me go through his pockets?
What?
who's aiding? I'm confused.
Bruce is about to attempt to spout lore. Bruce is not the
Yes.
sharpest crayon in the
Broken blades.
Broken Blades. And so he's hoping, metagame-wise, that one of his faithful companions will help him out with some dice aid.
It is not the sharpest crayon in the box either. But maybe if the two of them put their heads together.
It's true, I'm sharp enough. I'm trying to get blunted.
Ed is helping Bruce rummage through the dead bodies on the cart, looking for a sigil, maybe a piece of paper with some written instruction, anything that would mark these
Yeah, I got a good idea of what type of stuff
persons
you're looking
and who
for.
they are.
And
Oscar turns.
that's
to
a
the-
good use of it
ask a
too, as
question.
well.
You have a question?
Oh, Sigmund, yeah, he knows about these things. Can I scoop these into a jar too?
Categorically, no.
If you puree it well enough, yeah.
Alright, here's an 8.
I felt it coming again. I was about to say, just so you know, I feel
Yeah.
that miss coming. But I was like, I'll just
Really,
stay quiet.
You know, Ed has doubled down on being helpful, and it's really not working out so well for her.
Devourer comes back to life.
How did you read my mind like that? Etta comes over. She can almost see what Bruce is about to do. She starts rummaging around in the cart, kind of carefully moving one of the bodies out of the bench and lowering it thoughtfully to the ground. She kind of absent-mindedly reaches without looking, kind of to pull herself back up onto the cart. And as she does, she feels the long, leathery, cold fingers of this devourer clasp around her wrist. She can immediately feel her very soul start to weaken and almost feel as if it's draining out of her. But the thing itself hasn't moved at all, except for just that slight amount to drift its little hand over and grab Etta. What do you do?
Oscar sees her kind of get a small tug, and he reacts by going to shoulder check her out of the cart.
We're all just assuming Etta screamed, right?
Etta actually doesn't scream, but her face just turns white and her mouth opens like she wants to scream, but nothing comes out.
There's no soul to scream with.
So what move was that, Oscar?
I would say that's defy danger.
Maybe with strength? Sound like you're trying to shoulder check her out of there?
Yeah.
Do it to it, man. Roll it, then we can describe it. The misses. They're coming.
Is the canvas still on the cart? It's just tattered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me ponder this one for a moment. Got a couple different ways I could go with it. I gotta decide. I'm getting to make some moves now, baby. Yeah, I know what I want to do. So, though well-meaning, Oscar inadvertently shoves at it deeper into the clutches of this thing, kind of upending, kind of like blasting her into the cart. Describe that. That's the mechanics of it.
Well, as Oscar runs forward to shoulder check her, he lowers his shoulder to try to push her forward, but lowers a little too much and ends up getting underneath of her. As he rises up to push her out of the way, he pushes her further towards onto
She
the bench.
lands right on top of the
And the devourer helps too. He kind of like pulls her on up, like, yes. So now it's essentially wrapped its little tendrils. It's embracing Edda.
Edda/Devourer fanfic.
Exactly.
Edda can't scream, but she can pray to Tyr in her mind.
Truth.
She remembers being trapped in the darkness of the shadows in the way that when there was no one else to help her, Tyr helped her. And so she says her little prayer to Tyr, your hand continues to guide me. Pull me out to safety so that I can continue to do your work. Defying danger with wisdom.
Alright.
Bruce's hand will clasp onto one of the straps on Edda's armor, and he's going to attempt to pull at the same time as this is occurring, attempting to aid.
Do it. On miss. Damn.
Yay.
So Bruce will confer a +1 of potentially divine or potentially mundane strength. Well, I guess we'll never know. And then that's your defy.
That's my defy danger.
Does that mean I'm Tyr?
You're doing his work.
You are Tyr's hand.
In that moment you were.
Defy danger, by the way, is one of the basic moves. It always applies when you kind of have any type of threat or some calamity happens, like a landslide's coming down or whatever. So we'll give it a hard bargain here on the middle result. Bruce can pull Edda free. Again, allegedly guided by Tyr. Maybe not. We'll never know. However, the Devourer is going to use that as an opportunity. The Devourer is very good jujitsu, and he's going to use that as an opportunity to begin grappling Bruce. And again, I'm trying to get generic with my tell you the mechanics so that y'all can describe how you want. So describe that however you want.
Well, as Edda can feel herself being lifted off this thing, having your soul pulled out of your body is a bit,
It's like giving blood, but a lot worse.
She can't tell if the hand that's grabbed her is Tyr's hand or someone else's, but for a moment, she thinks it's the hand of Tyr pulling her up, but as she's being lifted, she can kind of sense that's not Tyr, it's Bruce. And, sensing that her friend is in danger, she decides to shake him off and refuse his help, and gladly goes back to being in the arms of this devourer.
Nah, that wasn't the bargain.
Well, the bargain was if I get broken free.
Oh, I guess, yeah, that's true. So you wanted to stay in there?
I'm saying I don't want to take the bargain.
She's
I'll
saying
stay.
no.
Gotcha.
I'm saying no.
Gotcha. Alright. That good alignment coming out. I like to see it. I'm just used to your usual personality here, Edda. Okay, I'm not used to the reformed paladinic Edda. I like it. I guess you will be Edda the Fair after all, and you won't actually be known as Edda the Beheader.
Be happy to behead this devourer.
Alright, what's next?
Bruce will step up into the cart with the Devourer and Edda, and with ring gear drawn, try to stab it down into the other eye socket of the Devourer.
Hit me first, of course, with the Defy Danger.
Strength or dexterity?
Depends on how you describe it.
I would think he's pulling himself up by at his strap that he had held on, and he's going to step over, essentially carefully, across the limbs of the devourer to get to its head.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could actually see that with strength, because I imagine Bruce literally just with one arm pulling his whole weight up into the cart by Edda's armor strap. So like there's no way he's gonna hit her because he's literally using that, and he just like almost uses his ring gear like a ski pole, and he's trying to just like stab it right into the dome piece. Yeah, I could. So that would be a way you could get it with strength for sure. Good description.
Man.
You can deal damage. Like you can I'll let you just deal damage off this, but you have to also deal it to Edda. So they both take the same.
Other than having her soul pulled out, Edda looks pretty healthy right now.
So the bargain is either deal damage before I hack and slash or not hack and slash?
Maybe I'll just say that the bargain is that when you hack and slash, the results will also apply to Edda. That's probably a more sensible deal.
Okay. So Bruce looks down and he sees like the writhing mass. He sees bits of Edda and bits of the devourer, and instead he's going to just try to restrain the devourer and get its arms away from Edda, and try for another defy danger strength, I guess. Is that kosher?
Nah, you already whiffed it with the mid there, so you can't like redo the same thing. My
It
opinion.
would be a different goal.
Nah, it's the same goal.
My goal was to kill it. Now my goal is to just get Edda free.
Yeah, but still, I'm not gonna have it back to back. Someone else will have to jump in.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
You gonna continue on, Bruce?
Edda's
No,
looking paler by
something.
the second.
I got shut down. I can't do my move until someone else does.
Oh, just follow through with the original plan.
He thinks you should just hack and slash it.
I yell out to Bruce, "What are you doing? Get in there!"
Well, I already declined the damage roll, so
He yells back, I can't do it without hurting her.
all this through the sheets that no one can see.
Sigmund.
Edda's gonna. Oh, go ahead.
No.
no.
I didn't have a lot of faith in that plan, so
Edda
I
can
imagine
tell.
in the game, Sigmund says, "I am going to," and then Edda is like, "I have an idea." So Sigmund just stops and says, "Okay."
Edda can feel her friend close by. And she, with the last little bit she has left in her body, she's going to try and roll the Dementor over with her to give him a better aim to attack it. Maybe a defy danger with strength to reposition this thing.
There you go.
Okay. Good enough. Got a 9.
So your goal was to reposition the Devourer so that Bruce could get a unobstructed shot at it.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so you got a hard bargain too. So now I'm gonna flip it, and now the bargain is Bruce can do a hack and slash on it, and he's not gonna involve Edda in it, but he will deal damage as well to himself. meaning he'll have to stab down and maybe wind up stabbing his own foot, or he'll have to maybe like grab Hringir with his other hand on the blade itself to like pin down the Devourer and slice its head off, or in some way he'll damage himself with the results of the hack and slash. And since it's Edda's role, I'll actually give her the ability to decide if Bruce does it or not.
She still really doesn't want to put her friend in danger.
Well, I would
Yeah.
think that Bruce, seeing the opportunity, would take it, not really knowing the circumstances on him taking damage.
Not letting Edda make the choice.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that what
I
you're
would-
saying? Like, as she's wrestling around with this thing and she's like, I don't know if this is gonna work. She doesn't have a second.
Then roll it, fam.
She doesn't get the chance to say no.
Bruce not hurt girl, but Bruce will hurt self. So then roll your damage, and it'll also apply to you. You can describe however that goes down, because that will be enough to hopefully kill, at least incapacitate this thing.
So, I don't like the idea of Bruce being clumsy, so instead, he's stabbing down into the head of the Devourer. It cuts down into the wagon cart, and in its last, like, dying breaths, it actually deals the damage to Bruce.
Ah, nice.
It swats at him and cleaves him across the chest.
Yes. Excellent. Does it even get in for anything?
Well, I'm assuming that I do my +2 piercing since it's my damage, so yeah, it deals me all the damage.
So instead of it like slashing you or something, it like reaches its tendrils, its fingers, like around your neck. And it starts
Yeah.
to suck your soul a little bit too. And I imagine that looks like, you know how Geralt looks when he's doing deep potions, he's getting deep in his potions. And his face is all pale and veined out. I imagine that's what he starts to look like as it's like, but then it perishes. Hopefully for good this time. And this is a perfect intermission here. We're 2 hours in. So we'll take our intermission. Do you guys want to have... I think that we'll begin again with a little bit of role play here, and then we'll probably go to the tomb. I mean, it's up to what you guys want to do. But it's been 2 hours, so let's take a little break and take care of ourselves here. Be back with y'all in just a little bit. Alright, y'all. It's already been 2 hours. It is the O Show. It is the Saga of Broken Blades, number 13, season 2, episode 3. Having a blast so far, but it's been 2 hours, so let's take a quick break, take care of ourselves. I really encourage y'all to do the same. Pretty sure everybody here is a OG, is a regular, so y'all know how to support the show if you want to. A lot of easy ways to do it. Really appreciate y'all hanging out. Hope you're having a good Saturday. Make sure you get up, walk around a little bit. Take care of yourselves. We'll meet back here momentarily for another few hours of Dungeon World. Be back soon. Yo, thanks for your patience, y'all. It is the show. We're gonna get back into a little bit more of the saga of Broken Blades, some Viking dungeon world. Hope y'all are having a great Saturday. Greetings. Sorry if that was a long one. I was caught up talking to Bean.
She's back.
I'm gonna tell you what Bean just ate, alright? I want you to hear this.
It's gonna be delicious. You guys are gonna be really jealous.
You guys ready to hear what she just ate? A cold piece of leftover pizza slathered in cold ranch dressing.
Mmm.
How disgusting is that?
Is the pizza sauce also ranch?
No.
Okay.
That was important.
Yo, what up, Gort? I think Lewis might be. No, he's back. Good. So the other thing I was gonna say is that I was planning on going till 4 today with y'all, but I really want to watch some of these fights. So I think we might do the initial Gusabi scene and probably wind up with about a 3-hour session today. I feel bad, but I have to be a little bit selfish and watch me some of these fights. I'm sure you guys understand, right?
I
Yeah,
respect
it's like a
it.
writer's strike.
What?
Like a writer's strike.
Yeah, the show has a writer's strike this week, yep. Gork says I can't do cold pizza. Same boat, fam. I love Bean, but I tell her straight to her face. I just look at her and go, that's disgusting. But she loves it.
Cold pizza is like a rare delicacy. You know, some people have a palate for it.
It's
Some
actually
people aren't as refined as me.
perfect when your lover likes all the shit you don't.
Yep, it's true.
You know? Just optimal.
I'll eat your tomatoes.
And my licorice.
Actually, neither of us like licorice.
Well, that's because we're not reptiles. So.
Excuse me.
Or
Maybe I should
Wait.
come live with you.
Wait, we should say black licorice, right?
No, because that's
Yeah.
racist.
No, there's a
It's African American
difference.
licorice.
All licorice matters.
Yeah. So let's get back into it.
The only remaining thing I really want to do, well, actually, there's two things I want to do. I want to wrap this fucker in the canvas from the wagon and burn it, and I still want to do that spout lore.
Yeah, like we don't have to go real time. We can do a little montage action, but you sound like you want to do a move, eh?
Yeah, I want to spout lore and use that +1 from Discern Realities to see if we can find anything out about who was transporting this thing.
Got it. We'll go ahead and roll the bones, and then we'll describe.
Before I hit enter, I'm just contemplating whether or not we should burn this thing first.
Roll too late.
Alright. So, with that result on the spout lore, if we remember from last session, I'm going to tell you something interesting but not useful. Let me ponder that one for a moment. I kind of envision a montage where Bruce does a search of not only the cart but the bodies as well. A man and a woman who appear to have been desiccated by, now that you know the signs, this thing. And again, I'm trying to keep it basic so you guys can take the reins on description. But the forming in my mind. Let me just check one thing here. Gotta be interesting but not useful. That's hard.
There could be like a, like an interesting mark or sigil that he finds, but we don't actually know what it is.
These pockets could be full of sawdust.
That is interesting.
Just a piece of paper that says cultural references. Devourers are based loosely on the concept of.
Now I have something I like. Yeah, because, you know, it's not useful right now. Maybe it will be in the future. There's a...
Well, yeah, it's on you to make it useful. It's not immediately obvious that it's useful. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, 7 to 9, the GM will tell you something interesting. It's on you to make it useful.
So one of the bodies has a promissory note in its pocket for this is coming out of my mind, so give me a second so it sounds cool. Hold up. I got a tool for this actually. Give me just a second. To Don John. By the way, y'all are nerds here, man. Let me throw this link out here in the chat. Don John is the best generator website ever, dude. Not only does he have a lot of game-specific things on here, but if you go over here to the fantasy and then name generator, you can go like quasi historical, right? So I go medieval Europe, and then throughout the game, this place I've been kind of given like a Slavic feel to. So I go in here, the Girana, Girana, the Girana Bank of Krano, Krano.
Spell that for me one more time.
Girana, the Girana Bank.
Okay. I got
of
Chrono.
Krano. And I'll pop out to the overmap. Because we actually have a Chrono. And we've talked about that land far to the east a little bit, but not very much. And the promissory note is to the tune of 500 coins of gold is what they're being paid. And you understand that however you want to. Like, maybe your character knows a little bit of the language from going on Vix, or maybe you just know what the language looks like. You don't actually know any words, and you can see the numbers and be like, oh, okay. Maybe your character doesn't read at all, and he shows it to one of the learned among you. However you guys want to lure it up, it's up to you. But you find a promissory note to the Girana Bank of Chrono for 500 coins in one of the pockets there.
Bruce will hand that off to Sigmund, the more intelligent of us all. And then I'm thinking we should probably burn this devourer.
So Sigmund, first off, Sigmund hangs on to this promissory note.
Yeah.
If so, make sure you write it down and everything.
I'll add it to my gear.
And then the second thing would be describing the scene as far as burning the remains here, as well as what's going on with the oxen, if anything. Let's have a little role play around that. Also, if Bolvy's alive, have a little RP around this. I was thinking about it as well too. Sometimes in Dungeon World, it can feel like you're like in one moment for the whole session, and I used to like fight that, but it's kind of like the way the game goes, because some sessions you're in a lot of different places kind of quick. So if we are, we spend a lot of time in this session or in this area, almost 2 sessions. That's just kind of the nature of the game. Don't feel bad about that or anything. We play it out till it's played out. So what's going on?
I'm thinking at least Etta and I would be cutting the canvas off of the cart, maybe cutting down the spars, and then wrapping the devourer in the canvas with Oscar and Sigmund's help. We drag it clear distance away and use the torch to light it off.
That looks badass. Probably like burns up into ash or something in the air,
You hear the last little sigh of
Yeah,
life
it's like
coming
yeah, the whole time. I like that too. I like that little sound I had associated with it. What else? Describe.
It is going to search the caravan itself to see if there's anything useful or valuable there to them. Would that be a discern realities, or is that just something she could do?
You could definitely discern realities on the situation. There's no reason you couldn't do that. I mean, you can also like search and everything. The way it kind of works in the nitty-gritty mechanics is like, any type of searching or anything like that is pretty much always going to invoke some type of roll.
Okay.
But discern realities is a good example of something you could do
Definitely
along those lines.
want to discern some realities. See if there's anything useful here.
So you can roll it, and then we'll see the result, and you describe it.
Oh,
So
good.
that's a success, so that will give you 3 questions off the list, right?
Mhm.
As well as
Let
plus
me pull
1
it up.
forward if you're acting off the answer.
What here is useful or valuable to me?
The promissory note discovered in the pocket of one of the wagoneers, the nameless bodies, desiccated of their souls, definitely useful and valuable to the tune of 500 coins.
But Etta was specifically looking in the.
Nah, not really.
Okay, just making
You're
sure.
not discerning the wagon, you're discerning realities.
Just making sure.
But I guess,
here's
how
not-
that would represent is like you know that it's like you've seen
I
him
don't
before,
find anything
probably.
in the wagon.
You know it's not fake. You know, that type of shit.
What here is not what it appears to be.
Etta feels suspicious about this devourer creature and the shadows themselves. They don't appear to be connected, yet they were both here.
Hmm. What should I be on the lookout for?
These shadows are not natural things, nor is the devourer for that reason. And they had to come from somewhere.
Okay.
What's next?
So we've basically looted this caravan. We have this thing to burn.
So anyway, back to sanctifying the food.
That was the original goal here.
Yeah, those oxen are just like I don't know, completely decomposed by now.
Can I re-roll that initial aid? Can we try that again?
Do you really want to? Is it worth the +1? That's the question you must ask.
Bruce
I
is gonna walk up the hill
suppose
to
you
boldly
could.
before that happens.
If Oscar wants to try and do it on his own, I think he can.
So Bruce walks back into the trees, and as he gets closer and closer, he realizes there's no firelight there any longer. He finds only darkness there. Volvi is gone.
Neat.
Meanwhile, was that your aid right there, Eda?
No, I didn't roll an 8.
Okay, that's an old roll.
Yeah,
Because
that's my discern realities.
my stoner mind. Alright. Meanwhile, so the band of Broken Blades does decide to try to still purify the oxen.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Describe, make some rolls. Do the do.
Do you want an aid? Or you
Well,
got
that's
this?
up to you. I'm going over there regardless.
I think Etta was just distracted by the evil thing in the cart. She really didn't connect to Tyr as best as she could. But now that they're actually safe.
Is the Devourer like burning right now? Do you guys have it like blazing? Did you like lay it up on a rock or something? On a boulder? How
Yeah,
did
it's
you
on
do
a-
that? Like how, not like how, but like describe, you know?
It's on a funeral pyre.
There you go. So there's smoke and ash and stuff going up into the air. In the background as Oscar stands over this carcass.
I'm trying to move it, but I can't grab the whole thing.
Don't worry about it.
Oh. Well, just gonna burn it where it lies.
Alright, sounds like there's no aid here. Oscar, do you do?
Oscar just goes over and sits in silence over these oxen. And he just places his hands upon And he just sits and waits.
Are you trying to use your Sanctify route?
Yes.
And then, so you still roll your cast a spell move for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Let's see the result. So with the cast a spell move, that means you're successful, but you have to choose one of those effects off the list. Which do you choose?
I'll take -1 to ongoing. Cast a spell.
How long does that last for?
Until the next time you commute.
Ah, very good.
Alrighty. Make sure you note that. And, yeah, I see no reason why it wouldn't work to sanctify these carcasses. I would say maybe you could get, like, I don't know.
How many pounds of oxen meat on the Oregon Trail?
Right, exactly. I'm trying to think of a
Enough.
fair number of rations to hook it up with here. What sounds fair? Open the negotiation.
Let's say the party, because only 3 people are eating, could eat for...
Well, let's
3
think about no.
days?
Let's think about it as in the ration item in the game.
Right. So I'm just
One
pondering it
ration
that way.
is 5 uses.
So a ration off of each oxen? For 10 total uses?
Yeah, let's say that's fair because the spell says what you hold in your hands. So maybe that means you can only purify part of the carcass. So it's almost disconcerting because part of the carcass is like good, clean meat that you can strip out and make into jerky, but then like right next to it is like rotten. So it's just it's almost more miraculous than the whole thing because it's right there. Like this area is like this kind of stain of healthy meat surrounded by the rot. So yeah, maybe a ration off each one is added to either a specific person's inventory, or I don't know if you guys are tracking food as a group or how you guys are doing it.
I'm tracking it in the notes, but somebody should probably put it in their inventory as well.
Right on.
So maybe, I don't know, Oscar, if you want to hold on to both of those rations or if you want to divvy them up. It's up to you.
I went ahead and marked one. One of you,
Yes.
the other two, can grab one.
Sigmund doesn't seem to have anything on him because he doesn't have a weapon. He doesn't have any pipe leaf. He just has a lyre and a promissory rope, so and 1 ration. So I'll add one of those to my inventory, or his
Nice.
inventory.
Bookkeeping done. So I think I want to try to get it done by about 3 o'clock here. So here's what we're going to do. First, Bolvi is also missing when Bruce goes back. So work that into your mind. I think what I'm going to do is clear the page out here. Start, like, draw in where we're going to begin on Gusabi's tomb next time. And then we'll do the end of session move, and it'll be...
The other thing we were going to do, which we can probably achieve pretty quickly, is making camp and just getting a chance to heal and commune with our gods.
Yeah, go ahead and like do that mechanically, and we'll say that your characters do that outside at the entrance to the tomb.
Okay.
they like make camp one last time before they head in.
So everyone is going to consume a ration.
Well, make sure you look
But
at
each
how
ration,
rations work. Yeah,
right, has 5 uses. Mechanically, after we make camp, let me just do the numbers. Because Etta doesn't eat, so mechanically, just for the bookkeeping, as a party, we have 25 uses of our rations left.
Got something very different marked.
I have 25.
Oh, you mean as a party? Okay, I still
Yeah,
have
as
a
a
lot
whole
more.
party. Yeah. I'll go.
Because before adding the one, I
We'll
had
double check the math later. We can make camp and then we'll double check our math.
So, next session will begin at the entrance to Gusabi's tomb, which is there's 2 massive double doors leading into that. We'll get into the deep description of it next session. I'm just drawing this in real quick so we have it ready. Then we'll do our end of session move. And then I know there's gonna be Swoobada. 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 Alright. So, the next game is gonna begin with the party collecting from their making camp at the entrance to Gusabi's tomb, which is, like I said, the massive double doors that'll be here. We'll describe in more detail next time. But I want to kind of wrap it up here about an hour early. So let's go ahead and do our end of session move here. And then wrap it up. Couple quick little scheduling things. Anyone that's going to be in JC's game, which I think is everybody but Lewis again, make sure you post in the channel for it to the horizon when your availabilities for the first character creation and all that session, so we can get that going. That one we're not going to stream like usual. And we got more tabletop going on tomorrow. We're going to be continuing our Labyrinth Lord campaign for King and Country. And that's been a meat grinder so far. So we'll see how that goes. I was talking to Bean about this a little bit. A huge thing that you learn in old school is every character should have a ranged weapon if they can. Definitely. And B, a little bit like a roguelike, in old school, you kind of want to, especially like when you're level 1, try to make sure you don't end your turn next to a monster. A little bit like Blood Bowl, like you want to reduce all the chances you can. So you want to, if you can, just not give the monster a chance to roll dice at all. So that can be achieved by hitting them with ranged weapons, yada yada. Anyway, let's hit our end of session move here. Did anyone resolve a bond this afternoon?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, I had a bond with Oscar, which was I want Oscar to learn from me. And I taught him to shoot demons straight in their eye socket.
That is true. You were able to provide useful info to Oscar, and he made it happen. So yeah, you can resolve that, mark XP, and just make sure you come up with a new bond before our next session. Unless you already have it right now.
I do not.
All good. Anybody else?
I was angling for one.
Let's hear about it.
I respect the beliefs of Oscar, but hope they will someday see the true way. Part of that was initially getting Oscar to revere a god, but I was trying to RP out, teaching him what to do with that newfound power.
I think that one's gonna need to go a little farther. What would you
Alright.
say, Oscar? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm just starting to. This is literally my first encounter with it. Even though it took a whole entire 2 sessions to finish it.
We'll
Glad
have
we
another
agree.
Bible study. Don't worry.
Need more Bible studies. Anyone else? What about that alignment?
I think Ada did her job.
What is her
Ignoring
job?
danger to aid another.
She did. Wait, that was last session though. When did
No,
she do
no.
it this session? Oh, when she voluntarily,
multiple times
yeah.
kept herself in danger rather than
Give you
putting
credit for that, definitely.
in danger.
Mark and XP. Anybody else fulfill their alignment?
Is killing a prone devourer defeating a worthy opponent?
Yeah, the Devourer was actually a worthy opponent, I would say.
I was gonna double dip on what I did. Perform your art to aid someone else. So using art very loosely. My knowledge,
The art of history.
the art of knowing things.
I would give you credit on that one, but not for the aid necessarily, but the description of the Devourer as being the servants of this ancient empire. That was dang shit. So yeah, you definitely
Very
mark off
poetic.
that. So get an XP from that. Anyone else? No Oscar alignment action?
I think it was helped partly in Boldy, so I'm going to toss up about that. Where he said that, wasn't there something about your family? I was like, I did learn something about my family.
What is your alignment?
And my alignment is to uncover a hidden truth. I didn't specify it, but I did say there was something.
Yeah, I guess you would actually get credit for that. I could agree to. Mark XP. Because you didn't... I mean, this guy might be lying to you. But you didn't even consider the fact that you might need to go on Maury with that paternity test, so...
He called me out, and I was like, yeah, okay. And I was like, continue on, let's go.
You are not the father. Alright, let's do our questions. Did we learn something new and important about the world?
Definitely.
Yes.
What?
I learned we have 500 gold coins waiting for us in Toronto.
You could. You could.
We learned about the Devourers.
Yep.
We learned a little bit about Bruce's parentage.
Yep. Learned all kinds of wild shit this session. So everybody marks a XP.
It's a real school day.
Did you overcome a notable monster or enemy?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Everybody
Yeah.
marks a XP. Indeed, JC. This is the first time that the Empire has been mentioned. And again, since I've been kind of transparent throughout this campaign with the mechanics to help people that are trying to learn, that's the beginning inklings of, as you can probably guess, some of my campaign fronts starting to rear their ugly head. And I loved how Bean was right off the bat making connections like, wait a minute, the zombies in Onstad, and I was like, yes. So yeah, little campaign front starting to peek around the edges here. Did you loot a memorable treasure?
Ooh.
Treasure.
A promissory note is pretty
Yeah.
notable.
I feel like it's kind of cool.
96.
It says, I think it says memorable, right? Yeah, but I think it's memorable because instead of a situation where it's just like, oh, cool, there's money, it's like, A, you have to hope it's legit or that you can redeem it, and B, you have to like go to the ass end of nowhere to even try to cash it in. So it's kind of, it'll stick to the bones more than just having a purse of money or something. Nice. So I guess everybody marks the XP off that too. Lots of experience points. Y'all are gonna be like max level, having to retire your characters and start the next generation of the Broken Blades here soon. Shit. That'll do it for now, y'all. Only a 3-hour sesh this time, but I need to watch some people beat on each other a little bit here. We'll do our usual schedule thing, get it all figured out. Appreciate y'all playing. Hope you have a good Saturday. Peace. Alright, ladies and gents. Gonna wrap it up just a little bit early here, about an hour early, just so I can watch my my UFC. Appreciate everybody chilling as always. We got shows all week, man. Just take a look at the very handsome looking scheduler there on the Twitch page. It'll clue you in as to what's what. Tomorrow we got more tabletop. For King and Country, Labyrinth Lord. Much more war game style, 1980s style. Definitely be a change of pace, but it'll be a lot of fun. We'll probably do a pretty long session tomorrow. Probably like 6 hours or so if we can. Do like 1 to 7. Everybody chilling right now is a regular, so y'all already know how to support the show. Best way is to tune in. You get some value, want to chip in financially, you know how to do it. Just glad you all hung out and had a good time. That'll do it for this edition of the O Show. Catch y'all tomorrow for some more pen and paper role playing.